This is the AI Executive Brief, and I'm Stephen Forte. Your competitor's AI is about to get smarter than yours. Today, we'll talk about Mistral Forge custom-trained AI models and why the next competitive moat won't be your data. It'll be the model you build on it. So here's a thought experiment. You and your biggest competitor both use ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, doesn't matter which. You're both paying roughly the same subscription, talking to the same model, trained on the same internet data. Your AI and their AI have the same brain, the same strengths, the same blind spots. Now imagine your competitor goes out and trains their own model, not on the internet, but on every internal document, every process, every customer interaction, every operational record they've accumulated over 20 years. Their AI doesn't just search for answers anymore. It reasons like a veteran employee. Yours is still Googling. That's the shift we're going to unpack today. 2 weeks ago at NVIDIA GTC, a French AI company called Mistral, valued at 11.7 billion euros after a 1.7 billion euro Series C led by ASML, launched something called Forge. And it's worth your attention, even if you're not going to use it tomorrow. Because what Forge represents is a fundamental change in how enterprises will relate to AI, not as a tool you subscribe to, as a capability you own. But first, let me walk you through how AI customization actually works today, because there's a spectrum and most people conflate the levels. Level 1 is off the shelf. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, generic models trained on the public internet. They're impressive. They're also the same model your competitor is using, your intern is using, and frankly, your kid is using for homework. Good for general tasks, not a competitive advantage. Level 2 is RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. This is where you plug your company's documents into a generic model. When someone asks a question, the model searches your files and pulls relevant information into its response. It's fast to set up, relatively cheap, and it works to a point. But here's the thing. The model doesn't actually learn anything. It's looking things up in real time. Think of it as giving a new hire a reference manual on their first day. Helpful? Sure, but that's not expertise. Level 3 is fine-tuning. You take an existing model and train it further on your data. With a technique called LoRa, this can cost as little as $500 to $5,000. You get better tone, better domain vocabulary, better handling of your specific use cases, maybe 85 to 95% of what a fully custom model could do. But you're still building on someone else's foundation. You're renovating a rental. Level 4, and this is what Forge enables, is full custom training. You're training a model from scratch or doing deep pre-training on your own proprietary data, using Mistral's base models as a starting point. The model doesn't look things up. It internalizes your knowledge. It reasons with it. It's the difference between an employee with a search engine and an employee with 20 years at the company. So what exactly is Forge? It's a platform that gives enterprises access to Mistral's actual internal training recipes, not generic open source configurations, but the same data mixing strategies, pipeline optimizations, and distributed computing methods Mistral uses to build their own flagship models. Their production playbook. The full life cycle, pre-training on massive internal data sets, post-training refinement using techniques like supervised fine-tuning, direct preference optimization, and LoRa, plus reinforcement learning from human feedback, synthetic data generation, evaluation, and continuous improvement. It supports both dense and mixture of experts architectures. MOE is important because it lets large models run more efficiently with lower latency and compute cost. It handles multimodal inputs, text, images, other data formats, and it's agent-first by design, meaning Mistral's own coding agent, Vibe, can use Forge to fine-tune models, find optimal hyperparameters, schedule jobs, generate synthetic data, all in plain English. For companies that need hands-on help, Forge comes with forward-deployed engineers, think Palantir style, who embed directly with your team. Partners already using it include ASML, Ericsson, the European Space Agency, DSO National Laboratories in Singapore, HTX Singapore, and Reply. Now, let's talk money, because I know that's where your head is. A full custom model implementation today runs $160K to over $1 million. That breaks down roughly to 40 to 200K for data preparation, 60 to 350K for training, 20 to 150K for infrastructure, and 40 to 200K for integration. The realistic Forge customer is probably spending somewhere in the $500K to $5 million range for a meaningfully custom model. To be clear, you're not building GPT-4 from scratch, which would cost $78 to $192 million and would be insane. You're taking Mistral's open weight base models as your foundation and doing deep domain training on top. Is that a lot of money? Yes, but here's the counterpoint. Enterprises deploying custom models report $1 to $50 million per year in operational savings, with ROI break-even in 3 to 6 months for well-targeted use cases. And the cost trajectory is dramatically in your favor. AI infrastructure costs have dropped 280-fold historically. Inference costs decline roughly 10x annually. MOE architectures deliver frontier performance with less compute. Synthetic data generation is reducing the human annotation bottleneck, which currently costs up to 28 times more than the compute itself. What costs $1 million today could realistically cost $100K in 2 to 3 years. So, should you be doing this? Let me be direct. If you're running a services company with mostly public knowledge and standard workflows, RAG and fine-tuning are probably all you need for the foreseeable future. Don't spend the money. But if you have deep proprietary data that is not on the internet, manufacturing specifications, engineering standards, decades of compliance policies, operational records, this matters. If you're in a regulated industry, finance, healthcare, legal, defense, where you need full control over what trained the model and where the data lives, this matters. If you operate across multiple languages where generic models underperform outside English, this matters. If your domain is so specialized that generic models plus RAG still get it wrong, semiconductor manufacturing, drug discovery, energy trading, specialized engineering, this really matters. And here's the sovereignty angle that shouldn't be ignored. The EU AI Act, US executive orders, South Korea's AI regulations, all of these are pushing toward model ownership and data control. Anthropic was recently designated a supply chain risk by the Pentagon. Dependency on a single AI vendor is now a recognized strategic vulnerability. Forge lets you deploy on-prem, private cloud, or on Mistral's own compute. Your data never has to leave your control. ASML leading Mistral's funding round is itself a sovereignty signal. Europe's most valuable tech company is betting on European AI independence. Now, the competitive threat argument, and this is the part I want you to sit with. The future of enterprise expertise isn't just the data within your company. It's the model trained on that data. A company using RAG has a model that looks things up. A competitor with a custom trained model has one that knows. That is a fundamentally different capability. The model becomes a strategic asset, not a subscription. It evolves with your business. It can't be replicated by a competitor subscribing to the same ChatGPT plan you're on. Here's the analogy. 2 law firms both have Westlaw, same legal database, same access to case law, but one firm spent 18 months training a model on every case they've ever argued, every brief they've ever written, every judge's tendencies in every jurisdiction they practice in. That model doesn't search for answers. It reasons like a senior partner at the firm. The other firm's AI is still looking things up. That gap compounds over time. Now, balance. CIO.com analysts note that serious deployments of this kind of technology may be 2 years out. This is only realistic today for large enterprises with strong AI talent, deep budgets, and specific data advantages. For most organizations, fine-tuning and RAG will continue to be more practical and cost-efficient. I'm not telling you to write a check tomorrow, but I am telling you to start thinking about your data strategy now, because the companies that will benefit most from custom models in 2 or 3 years are the ones organizing, cleaning, and cataloging their proprietary data today. Start with RAG, graduate to fine-tuning when you hit the ceiling, and keep your eye on custom training for when the costs come down and the use case is clear. The worst position to be in is realizing your competitor built a model that thinks like their best people, and you're still renting a generic one off the shelf. That is the AI Executive Brief for Thursday, March 26th, 2026. I am Stephen Forte. If this was useful, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I will be back Friday with more. Until then, stay sharp.